What is up? GoodMicWork back at you to review the April 11th, 2016 edition of Monday Night Raw. That was an awesome show. I am so pissed off. I wasn't home to watch that live. I wasn't able to be home. I had a prior commitment. I was staring at my phone, looking at Twitter just about the whole time, seeing what everybody was saying about it, and was really irritated that I couldn't be at home in front of my computer screen checking the show out. Which is why my Raw review is coming so late this week. This won't even be uploaded until Tuesday afternoon, so I apologize for that. Real quick, before we get started, I just want to mention two things. Number one, I want to thank everybody for the awesome positive support and feedback I got on my 6-year anniversary video. On Monday, I released a small commentary just commemorating my 6 years on YouTube. I wasn't expecting it to get a ton of views or anything like that, because some people can find that stuff boring. But even though it didn't get a ton of views, it got a ton of love, and I want to thank everyone for that. It's been an awesome 6 years. Here's to 6 more. Also, for this particular commentary, I'm changing up the setting on my microphone again. The setting that I have preferred to use in recent weeks is good, but the problem is it renders my pop filter useless, as you guys have probably noticed. But the other settings, including this one, fixes that problem, but it kind of creates this echo that I didn't really like. But I'm trying this for the next couple of commentaries, so let me know what you think. Those of you who have said in the past that the audio was kind of low, this should fix that problem as well. Let's move on to this week's Monday Night Raw. We're a week removed now from WrestleMania. And as we saw last week in a pretty surprising move, AJ Styles won the number one contender match and is going to be facing Roman Reigns at Payback. If you would have told me 6 months ago that AJ Styles would be getting a WWE title shot a month after WrestleMania, I would have said no fucking way. I wouldn't even expect him to be in the WWE. Even if he was, it would probably be NXT, much less working on the main roster for the world title. That's pretty amazing. So I still think that's really cool that the WWE is going with this main event at Payback, regardless of the outcome. But Raw opens up tonight with a Shane McMahon promo. I should mention also that they did do a in-memory photo at the very beginning, recognizing the passing of Blackjack Mulligan, who was one of the all-time greats and, of course, is the grandfather of Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt. Those Wyndhams and Rotundos are wrapped so tight, and that's an amazing wrestling family, and it's a huge loss. So rest in peace, Blackjack Mulligan. Sending my thoughts and positive vibes, as always, to the Rotundos and the Wyndhams, and of course to Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas, who both worked the show tonight as well. So I'm not sure if they've already had the funeral. I guess they must have, but they're back to work and they're back on the road. But getting back to the Shane promo, he comes out and they had announced, I guess earlier on in the day, that he was going to be running Monday Night Raw again. So that's awesome. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy that he's doing that because Shane is a nice breath of fresh air as far as the authority figure, being a babyface for the first time in I don't know how long. But it just makes you wonder, what the hell was that Hell in the Cell match for? You know, if they went through all of that just for them to transition into Shane possibly sticking around and running Raw in the future. I mean, they're treating this as a temporary deal right now. That's what they're calling it. Shane McMahon was just given this opportunity by his dad because his dad wanted to see him fall on his face. The problem is he didn't. And because of the huge response on social media, WWE's hand was forced, and they decided to put Shane in charge again. So the explanation to me is weird for Shane being there, but given what we've seen the past couple of weeks on Monday Night Raw, with last week with AJ winning and a lot of these new debuts and the new call-ups from NXT, having Shane kind of being in charge of that is smart. You should give the credit to a babyface, instead of Stephanie and Triple H being out there taking up all the credit for it. And then maybe it could potentially make you resent these new people in some way if they're attached to the authority or whatever. So Shane being in charge during this time, during this, kind of small change that we're going through after WrestleMania is a good idea, but then why not just have him win the match at WrestleMania? I don't know. So, the whole thing is weird to me. I did read the story that The Undertaker was claiming that could have been his last match, or that was his last match at WrestleMania 32. The problem is I think he has said that before. Don't know what the deal with him is. He was supposed to go on this upcoming UK tour. He was advertised, and they've pulled him from all the shows. So I don't know if he's going to take another long hiatus. I think Undertaker has got one more in him. I mean, I want to see him retire and everything, but if that match with Shane McMahon was it, I don't want The Undertaker's retirement to be in the middle of the card unannounced, I want to know going into it that it's going to be The Undertaker's last match so we can all celebrate, one of the best or the best career this industry has ever seen. So time will tell on what the deal is with The Undertaker, but he is off the UK tour, and his match with Shane McMahon, for all the punishment they put themselves through, it was for nothing because Shane's running Raw anyway. So anyway, who knows what their thought process is in this, and who knows if it's going to tie in together, this big storyline that I was wanting to happen and wanting to culminate at WrestleMania 32. Maybe that's still going on. Maybe that's still in progress. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through here. But having Shane being in charge of Raw at all, to me, is just baffling, but why the hell am I going to complain about it? Because I like Shane, and the fans like Shane. And he didn't come out there and drag out his promo for 25 minutes either, like Stephanie and Triple H did. He got right to the point. He was actually interrupted by Kevin Owens, who comes out there and demands that he gets an Intercontinental title rematch because he was fucked over at WrestleMania and all of that. And Shane McMahon is like, well, no, you fucked over Sami Zayn last week as well. So if you want a Intercontinental title shot, you're going to have to earn it. And you're going to have to win a match next against the returning Cesaro. Cesaro, who we saw return last week, is back. He comes out to face Kevin Owens right then and there. And I like his new entrance. He's kind of got a new thing. Comes out there in that full-on suit and then tears it off like a stripper. And hopefully this latest incarnation of Cesaro will stick, and hopefully he can be featured prominently. If this Raw was any indication, I think that's a really big possibility. However, they could easily turn around and fuck it up at a moment's notice, so who knows? Jury's still out on that, but Cesaro is back for the moment. He looks awesome. He faces Kevin Owens and beats him with the neutralizer. And Cesaro is the one that's going to be challenging The Miz at Payback for the Intercontinental title. So, them potentially putting the belt on him, I can see them doing that. Cesaro's not going to be really in the world title picture, it doesn't seem like, at least right now. So giving him the IC belt would be fine. I'd like to see him have a long run. We don't get long runs anymore. Kevin Owens, I was hoping to hold the belt for like 9 months. He didn't hold it for 9 weeks. So even if Cesaro gets it, I suppose he could drop it, in a couple of months. Who knows? But just give him the belt. Or at least have him chase The Miz for a little while, and I'll talk about The Miz here in a bit. But now that Maurice is back, maybe The Miz's title reign could be longer than we think, and maybe Cesaro and him can work a few pay-per-views together. So that might be the best option, having Cesaro eventually win the Intercontinental title, but maybe not right away. And let me just backtrack really quick as well, because when I was talking about the Shane promo, I didn't mention any of the matches that he made and the announcements that he made during this very quick promo. One of those announcements was that we were going to have a number one contender tournament for the tag team titles, and that was going to start tonight on Raw. He was also going to make up for the fact that Sami Zayn got screwed over last week. When do we ever see that out of an authority figure? Zayn was knocked out of that number one contender match, so now he gets a chance to get into that Payback main event with AJ and Roman if he defeats AJ Styles in a one-on-one match. So now we got AJ and Zayn, and oh man, we'll talk about that here in a second. And he also announces that we're going to get a WWE Women's title match. Wow, I almost just said Divas right there. Damn, I am so glad that word is gone. A Women's WWE title defense, Champion Charlotte taking on Natty later on in the night. So back to where we left off after the Owens and Cesaro match, they cut to Ric Flair and Charlotte backstage, and Charlotte is talking and whining about how she's a victim and all this nonsense, and then Dr. Phil approaches them. Dr. Phil was your host or guest tonight on Monday Night Raw, maybe not a host. What was ironic about it is that I didn't hate Dr. Phil's involvement tonight on Monday Night Raw. I thought I was going to throw up anytime I saw him on TV tonight, but when I did, it was like, wow, that wasn't bad. I can live with that. Dr. Phil approaches Ric Flair and Charlotte, and Dr. Phil starts lecturing Charlotte, saying, Rick is holding you back. He is helping you win by cheating, and you're supposed to be a champion. You're a great athlete. You don't need all this nonsense. You can win on your own, kind of thing. Almost lecturing her and giving her a pep talk all at the same time. And then Charlotte gets in his face and insults the hell out of him. And then Ric Flair tries to have a woo-off with Dr. Phil, which Dr. Phil wins. And the whole segment was like, not the worst thing I've ever seen. And to me, I was like, wow, that's pretty smart. I mean, at least the guest host's involvement on Raw was used for something relatively meaningful. At least this had storyline implications. You know that maybe eventually there will be a split between Charlotte and her dad. But right now, she's following in his footsteps, and she's making a great heel, and I love it. And I hope they don't change it anytime soon. But they plant the seeds here and there with stuff like this, so that's inevitably coming in the future at some point. So, the whole Dr. Phil thing was not horrible, and that was not going to be the last we saw of him either. They then cut to another backstage segment. This time Kevin Owens is in the back whining to Shane McMahon, pissed off that he got screwed over and that he's going to fuck up Sami Zayn good tonight and he's not going to be able to compete in that match with AJ Styles or whatever. And Shane is like, look, motherfucker, you're not going to threaten me. I'm going to kick your fat ass out of this building right now and have security escort you right out of here, which he did. And I don't know, call me crazy, but did I see a sparkle of chemistry between Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon? That could be a match we could see in the future. We get New Day coming out to the ring next. Tag team champions, of course. This big tournament is going on to find out who's going to challenge them for it. I guess it's going to take place at Payback, this match, because they'll probably blow through these matches on Raw and SmackDown pretty quick. And we will have a winner this tournament probably by next week, maybe. I don't know. So they come out to do their thing and shake and gyrate and talk and cut their jokes. Pretty funny. And then they show the hilarious graphic of the tournament. The bracket. How funny was that with the fucking rainbows and the unicorns and everything? Oh, man, New Day. I love you. They have the very first match right now as well, the Dudley Boys taking on the Lucha Dragons. Now, it didn't last very long because Kalisto got hurt outside the ring, leaving Sin Cara in there to fight the Dudleys by himself. He didn't last long. They eventually 3D'd him and pinned him and won. And the doctors and the referee were outside the ring attending to Kalisto the whole time. I wasn't sure if this was legit. I don't think it was. To me, this was definitely a storyline injury, but I suppose he could have been. And then we had a feeling we were going to see these guys again. They debuted last week. Enzo and Cass come out to interrupt the Dudley Boys, and it was a funny segment. It really is. You know, I mentioned last week that I just don't know what to make of these guys. I mean, I've only seen them a couple of times in NXT. I mean, I like the big guy, obviously. He's a big, giant monster. You know he can go places, but the little guy is just this spazzy, twitchy, fucking caffeinated crazy man. This guy literally looks like he's sweating Red Bull. I don't know what to make of him, but he's great. He's hilarious. And my favorite when he was calling Devon Devin. That was awesome. Devin Dudley. And Devin Dudley decides to tell Enzo and Cass that the only reason they exist is because they let them. And then Enzo's like, no, I exist because my mom and dad got it on. So that was a funny line. I guess really that's why we all exist, and Devin should have fucking known better. So I'm now thinking one of two things are going to happen. Enzo and Cass face the Ascension in the tag team title tournament on SmackDown. They are either going to win, which means they will be facing the Dudleys in the next round, or the Dudleys are going to come out there and cost them the match against the Ascension, and the Ascension are going to advance. Then on Raw, you're going to get the Dudleys and the Ascension, and Enzo and Cass are going to cost the Dudleys the match, and the Ascension are going to be in the fucking finals. I'm not so sure them winning is completely out of the question. And then that sets up your Enzo and Cass versus the Dudleys at Payback. That might be a better match. That would give pay-per-view experience to Enzo and Cass working against veterans like the Dudleys. That's what they need. So that's kind of the direction I'm hoping they're going in. Next up is a wonderful Roman Reigns promo. We all love Roman Reigns promos, right? Coming down to the ramp again. I think the days of coming through the crowd is over, which I'm thrilled about because I never liked that to begin with. But I'm telling you, something is telling me that he's going to turn heel eventually. He fucking has to. Listen to these fans. A lot of people don't like him, says JBL. But he briefly starts talking about AJ Styles, and then the League of Nations interrupts him, comes out on the stage, and starts cutting a promo on him. He calls them down to the ring, says they'll kick all three of their asses, and they get in there with him, and as soon as they start brawling together, the Wyatts show up. Now, we saw the Wyatts do their thing last week. A lot of people were wondering if that is a babyface turn after they attacked the League of Nations. Now they're coming out there to help Roman Reigns? That's fucking crazy. And then Shane comes out and interrupts the whole brawl and says, I'm really intrigued by the very idea of Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns fighting on the same side. So why don't we have a tag team match, any two of you freaks in the League of Nations taking on Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns in the main event? And that's pretty crazy, isn't it? I mean, think of all the shit Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns have been through together. And the Wyatts, it's really hard to think of them as baby faces, the way they're coming out and attacking heels now and tag teaming with baby faces. I'm not sure how I feel about this, but it's probably needed for Bray Wyatt's sake. I mean, he's done it all as a heel, really. He's worked with everybody, lost to most of them. So, babyface, fuck yeah, let's do it. Next up was the women's title match between Natty and Charlotte, and this was another awesome match. I mean, we had some amazing in-ring work tonight on Raw, and these girls kicked ass. I loved it, and I hope they work at Payback, and I wouldn't even mind seeing Natty get a run. But we also had Dr. Phil was back. He was at ringside for this match, and in another situation where I didn't totally hate it. He was fine. He just sat out there. He observed what was a great wrestling match between these two girls. Natty has got Charlotte locked in the sharpshooter. Charlotte taps out, but Ric Flair yanks the referee out of the ring, and instead of acknowledging Charlotte's tap out, he disqualifies Charlotte for Ric Flair's interference. So Natty wins by disqualification, but she doesn't win the women's title, which is why they'll probably have the match at Payback. And then they kind of bring the microphone over to Dr. Phil and say, what did you think about that? And he kind of just reiterated the same point that he made backstage earlier on, that Charlotte is better than that. She doesn't need it, and he wishes that she wouldn't resort to those tactics. So, again, a guy like Dr. Phil, who's not one of my favorite people in the world, coming in to be a guest on Monday Night Raw, all the signs pointed to it being the worst thing ever in the world. And it wasn't. It wasn't at all. So, Dr. Phil, as much as I hate to say it, great job tonight on Monday Night Raw. I mean that. Hell, I even like what he did with Goldust and R-Truth. They had a backstage segment, too, where they're bickering, and Goldust is pissed off that he has to be involved in this title tournament with R-Truth, and Dr. Phil approaches him and just looks at him and shakes his head and walks away. That was awesome. You book a celebrity guest in this way, and I can live with it. Next up was definitely the mark-out moment of the night, the Usos taking on the Social Outcasts in the Tag Team title tournament. They beat the Social Outcasts, and then out of nowhere come Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. Is he Doc Gallows or is he Luke Gallows? He was Luke Gallows when he was in the Straight Edge Society. Am I right? Is he Doc Gallows in Japan? I don't know. Fucking Gallows. They hit the ring, kick the absolute shit out of the Usos, and the fans go fucking nuts. JBL and Michael Cole even acknowledged the rumors that they were coming into the WWE, so that's kind of different. I mean, it's been all over the internet. Normally, in a situation like this, the way WWE would debut a team is they would run through the crowd and attack the babyfaces in the ring, but then the announcers would be like, who are these guys, and where do they come from, and get them out of here, and then security would come and put them in handcuffs and lead them out through the crowd, and then they would get arrested and taken off and all that stuff. So here they just acknowledged that they're newcomers. JBL and Cole knew right who they were, started rolling off all their accomplishments and title victories in Japan. And in case you didn't notice, they did attack Roman Reigns' cousins. So, I don't know, maybe, just maybe, I was hoping they were going to do something major. Now, if they've come in just to be another tag team, we don't want to see that. I don't want these guys to turn into the Ascension. So maybe they make an appearance at that Payback main event. Do you think they would put the title on AJ? I mean, do you think they would do that? I mean, I can't even fathom that. I mean, AJ Styles as WWE Champion is something that I thought would never happen. And if they did that at that next pay-per-view, maybe with some interference from these two guys, man, that would be awesome. I think that's the type of place where you save a debut for. So I'm a little worried that maybe Gallows and Anderson will not be associated with AJ at all. Maybe Finn Balor when he comes up to the main roster. But I hope they're just not another run-of-the-mill tag team. I want to see them do something major. But if they were to come out and cost Roman Reigns the belt, you might think that that's when their debut should have been. But who knows? That we can debate that and discuss that and speculate on that in the weeks leading up to Payback. But I really hope they make an impact in the WWE. I can see why WWE wants all this to happen on Shane's watch, quote-unquote. So I was really happy to see it. The fans in LA were definitely happy to see it. And everybody on Twitter was pretty happy to see it as well, from what I could tell. So welcome, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. Glad you're here. I hope you kick some ass. Next up was another really good segment. I don't like The Miz, but I all of a sudden like him now. So they cut backstage, and he's like in the spa, and Maurice is back. And we saw her return last week. And I gotta say, I'm happy she is, because you know what? She's going to help him. I mean, the two of them together are so good at playing that character. I mean, Maurice was all pissed off because there was blue M&Ms in the bowl or something, and then Miz is sitting there with cucumber slices on his eyes, and he's got to drink imported water, and I don't know. It was just fucking hilarious. I actually liked it, and to me, it's like, I don't know, maybe I can warm up on The Miz now. That was pretty awesome. But JoJo approaches them, and she wants to get The Miz's comments on his title match with Cesaro at Payback. And he's acting all smug, and Maurice is being cunty, getting all in JoJo's face, but acted like JoJo was there just to suck off The Miz and not actually interview him. So I think the whole thing is pretty good. I like the act. And now that Maurice is back and she's with The Miz, that's going to be good stuff. They're going to get some heat. We got smacked in the face with more awesomeness next. AJ Styles and Sami Zayn. This probably is an unpopular opinion, but I think this match was just as good as Zayn and Nakamura at NXT Dallas. I loved this match between these two. Fans were marking out too. I mean, it was great. It was a great display. I mean, you know, when you put two guys like this, I mean, they're both relatively newcomers to the main roster, and they're in a pretty high-profile match on Monday Night Raw, and they delivered. They lived up to the hype They showed that they do belong there, and they went out there with the confidence of a 20-year WWE veteran. They tore the house down. It was an awesome match. Proud of both of those guys. AJ ended up winning with the phenomenal forearm, so that keeps his match with Roman Reigns a one-on-one contest at Payback. And then I saw the finisher there, the phenomenal forearm. I guarantee you that at Payback they will do a spot where Roman Reigns and AJ Superman punch and phenomenal forearm each other. Mark my words, it will happen. It'll probably look pretty cool. I would think maybe AJ would be the one going for the phenomenal forearm, and Roman would see it coming and get a running start, and then he would Superman punch, and their fists would collide, and he'd probably nail AJ pretty good. That could even be the finish of the match. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that either, but it's definitely a spot they have to try. Either that or have AJ go for the phenomenal forearm and then Roman Reigns spears him. That could be a great finish as well. That might actually be the finish they go with. The camera also cut backstage to AJ and Zayn talking to each other, congratulating each other, and Shane even came up and was like, dudes, that was awesome. You guys came through, you earned your spot, you belong here. Great job to the both of you, and walked off. And then Zayn and AJ just kind of sat there and congratulated each other. So, I'm fine with that. And another awesome segment. I mean, what has gotten into the WWE? I mean, how can they pack this Raw so full of awesomeness and have so many other Raws suck so damn bad? But this next segment was fucking gold, too. Chris Jericho comes out for his highlight reel, has a very special highlight reel, and then Dean Ambrose comes out and interrupts him before Jericho can really get his promo cooking. Ambrose is carrying a potted plant in his hand and like a piece of cardboard in his other hand, and gets in the ring and basically starts rearranging shit. He's just not even paying attention to Jericho. He knocks Jericho's plant off the stool and puts his own plant there, and then he's trying to hang his cardboard thing up, or he's scoping out the Geritron 5000, looking at it, and Jericho's like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Are you mental? How dare you come out here and interrupt me? And then Dean's like, oh, what, they didn't tell you? Apparently this is my show now. Shane McMahon has announced that effective immediately, the highlight reel has become the Ambrose Asylum, and he covers up the Geritron thing with his poster, and then decides that he's going to interview Chris Jericho and he will be his first guest, and it was great. That's actually a really good role for Dean Ambrose, to have something like that. He can be that Jericho, that Edge type of guy, modern day crazy love child of Roddy Piper and Brian Pillman or something. So I like it. Giving him a talk show can definitely make for some entertaining moments on Raw. I guess we can rule out a heel turn now. I kind of thought maybe Ambrose would turn heel at some point, since there was really nothing left for him to do as a babyface, and he got his ass kicked by Brock at WrestleMania 32. But maybe he can be born again with this segment, and I definitely think it could be entertaining. Imagine if Ambrose has the New Day on or something like that. That's going to be pretty amazing. We had one quick squash as well before the main event. Apollo Crews had another match here on Raw, taking on Adam Rose, made short work of Adam Rose. Crews is pretty impressive. That kid is athletic as hell. He seems to be over enough, he's more over than a guy like Ryback, but not as over as a guy like Sami Zayn. He's somewhere in the middle. But I wish him luck. I like him. He's exciting to watch. We also got a pretty badass Baron Corbin video package. A lot of footage from what he did to Dolph Ziggler last week on Monday Night Raw, and I'm guessing that they'll go with Ziggler and Corbin at Payback, and Ziggler will put him over. Maybe Corbin has a match next week on the UK Raw, another squash, and Ziggler does a run-in and attacks him or something, and that sets up the Payback match. It's probably going to be something like that. But I actually like the video package, and I like Corbin. I like that he's this lone wolf. I mean, hopefully he will always be a lone wolf, because if you put this guy in a faction in 6 months, then you're idiots. And finally, our main event, very strange one, Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt teaming up to take on the League of Nations. Match was okay. I actually enjoyed it, I think, a lot more than other people did. Some people were telling me, skip the main event, it wasn't that great. I thought it was. Just to see Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt on the same side, that's weird. We're talking Shield, Wyatt family, what the fuck's going on? You don't crossbreed, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. And to me, I found it semi-interesting, because Bray Wyatt right now is kind of unpredictable. You don't know what he's going to do, and are they going to attack Roman Reigns, or are they not going to be able to get along? How long will this alliance last? Are they actually going to work together? And they work together brilliantly. I love the finish. Bray Wyatt nailed Alberto Del Rio. I mean, Bray Wyatt got the pin, not Roman Reigns. Del Rio got nailed with the Sister Abigail. Bray pinned him as Reigns was simultaneously spearing, I don't know, whoever it was, Sheamus or something. And the two of them won the match, and Bray Wyatt's music played. And Roman was celebrating in the ring with Wyatt's music playing. To me, that's crazy. They kind of stared each other down a little bit, sized each other up, and they united tonight to fight a common enemy. And you have to wonder, is this going to go any further? I mean, AJ has got the match with Roman Reigns. You think that next week and in the upcoming Raws before Payback, Roman needs to be interacting with AJ, not Bray Wyatt. But to me, the alliance, or at least the temporary one, was a little bit intriguing because I don't know what to make of it. And I don't know where they're going to go. I mean, they're trying their best right now to not have any heels and baby faces. You don't know what the Wyatts are now. Roman Reigns, of course. What is he? He's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy. He's the guy. Has that gotten old yet? Don't worry, it will. So all in all, A+, thumbs up to WWE Raw tonight. We got the great women's match between Natty and Charlotte. We got an amazing match between Sami Zayn and AJ Styles. Kevin Owens and Cesaro tore it up. Enzo and Cass were hilarious on the mic. The backstage segments were solid. Dean Ambrose hilariously takes over the highlight reel. And even the guest of the night didn't suck. So I gotta give this Raw an A+ across the board. I wish they could all be like this. That was great. Kudos to WWE. Those LA fans were treated to a great show tonight. And they're going to be treated to a huge night tomorrow night, Wednesday night. For those of you NBA basketball fans, in that very building will be Kobe Bryant's final NBA game. Spent every year with the Lakers. Played every game in the same uniform. A lot of people have opinions on Kobe, just like they do LeBron James or other sports figures out there. I've always had a ton of respect for Kobe Bryant. All those rape allegations all those years ago, I never believed that. To me, Kobe doesn't come off as that person. Plus, he's Kobe Bryant, and if he wants to get laid, you pick up the phone and you say, I'm Kobe Bryant, come to my house and suck my dick. You don't have to rape anybody. It's not necessary. So I always thought that Kobe was not that bad of a person and probably didn't do anything wrong. I guess the jury's still out. Some people still think he's a scumbag. I don't know. But I thought he was a great player. He took a lot of different people and a lot of different teams to the championship. He had different runs. He won a couple of titles, then he had a break. Then he won a couple more titles. You know what I mean? So he comes back all the time and is able to, reinvent himself and his career, and I respect the hell out of him. I'm going to miss him as an NBA fan myself, somebody who loves that league and that sport, always have since I was a kid. I'm sad to see Kobe go. His career touched me. It truly did. I think numbers-wise, he can be compared with anybody. He played a legendary career for a legendary team. He got to do all that with the Los Angeles Lakers. The Los Angeles Lakers are not the fucking Memphis Grizzlies, okay? This team has a legacy. So congrats to Kobe Bryant on a hell of a career. He'll be hanging it up on Wednesday, and I'll be watching. I wish I could be there to see it live, but I'm out of here. I guess the jury's going to be out on if you'll even hear from me next week. I got some other things planned. I want to give you guys a Q&A and another DVD review, so if the UK Raw is nothing special, I might skip it and work on some other things. But if the show is worth talking about, I'll come up here, even if it's for a short time. Maybe it's just a 10 or 15-minute video. If there's nothing really major going on Raw, but the show was still good enough to talk about, I will definitely come up and do a Raw review next week, as I usually do. If not, I'll skip it and work on something else instead and give you a different type of video next week. We'll see. I also want to thank everyone once again for all the awesome feedback and support on my 6 years now doing commentaries. Today was my 6-year anniversary. Fucking crazy. But anyway, I'll talk to you guys in a few days. Until then, peace.